back to the garage. If this is your first time visiting my channel, please go ahead and click on subscribe and also click on that bell to receive all the updates and activities on my channel. So for today's project, we are working on my wife's Jeep. What we're doing is we're doing a little bit of customization work to it. And if you have a Jeep, you probably already know there's a million ways to customize them and make it your own. So what we're going to do today is we're going to show you one thing you do as far as to change the interior of it. And what we're talking about, this is the finished product. We're talking about painting the trim pieces to match the body color of the Jeep. So we've already done this. This is the finished job. So I'll show you what we did on the process to get to this point. So go ahead, follow along, and I'll show you what you need to do. It's not that hard to do, and you can do it in your garage by yourself with not that much money. All right, let's get to work. So to do this job, all you're gonna need is the supplies that are shown right here. You're gonna need some a scuffing pad, red Scotch Brite, some isopropyl alcohol, some adhesion promoter, 1K clear, and your paint. So for the paint, this is actually the color correct paint from Mopar. Actually, it's an exact match for this Jeep. We actually bought this paint through Quadratech, and if I remember correctly, it wasn't that expensive. I think it was like 10 bucks a can. But with that paint, there's no clear, all it is a color. So you are going to need a clear coat, and we're using 1K, which is designed to go over this particular acrylic type of paint. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start scuffing up the parts and getting them prepped and ready for paint. Get the vents out. It's pretty easy. All you need to do is move the actual vent until it's like in the 2 o'clock position roughly. And what there is a hole or a window inside the vent that you're going to use a screwdriver to stick the into the hole, and then you're going to press and release the clip, which will allow the vent to rotate counterclockwise to the left. There you go, piece of cake. All right, so now with the vent removed, I'll kind of give you a better example of what we're looking at as far as the window and everything else. So as you rotate the vent, you can see the window is actually becoming open. If you rotate it too far, it will actually close, all right? So what we're doing is you're rotating it, and then by sticking the screwdriver through the vent, right, and pressing down on that clip, it basically unlocks it from the dash, which allows you to rotate it counterclockwise to the left. So once you have the vents removed, what you have to do is you have to go ahead and separate the trim ring from the actual vent. All you're gonna do is you're gonna take an awl or a little bit of a screwdriver, and you're just gonna jam it underneath the clip. And all you're gonna do is you're just gonna lift it up. And it separates. So within the trim ring, there's gonna be a plastic insert, and then you're gonna go ahead and pull that out. Like so. Now it's separated. Now it's ready for preparation for paint. All right, so now that you have all the vents removed, what you want to do is start removing all the trim. So we have the piece of trim on the grab handle, and the removal process is the same as this as it is on the door pieces. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take a plastic trim tool and just stick it in there, pry it in, and it pulls right off. Despite the bolts that are there, they actually do not hold the piece in. They are just there for beauty. Believe it or not, they're just a decoration. They actually don't hold it in. So it just pops right out, and once you have it out, go ahead and do the same thing for the 4 pieces on the door, and then we can go from there. All right, so at this point, you have all the plastic trim removed. Go ahead and remove the bolts that are in there. And what you're gonna do now is you're gonna take a piece of red Scotch Brite, take a new one so there's no oils, or if you have something in your garage you've used before, get something new, because you don't want to actually transfer any oils or anything to the plastic. So all we're looking to do is scuff this up. We're not looking to do a real heavy sanding. All we're doing is taking the sheen off of it, So we know when we apply the paint, it's actually going to stick to it, and it'll provide a mechanical bond to it. And what you're going to do is you're going to go all the way around it, and especially hitting the corners, and making sure you hit that, because paint doesn't like to stick to corners. So you got to give it as much of an advantage as you can. So we're going to do this on all the trim pieces, and then we'll come back when we're ready for the next step. So we've just about finished sanding everything. So what you want to also do is, you don't want to forget about this, is make sure you go into the recesses. And all you need to do is just take a piece of Scotch-Brite, cut it into like a 1/2 inch to 3/4 wide. And all you can do is you're going to stick it in the hole. And you're just going to sand it just like everything else. Because, you know, that's important too. So once you do that, just make sure, you know, you've gone around all the edges on the periphery. Make sure that's good, because again, paint doesn't like to stick to corners. So you want to make sure we give as much advantage as we can. All right, so at this point, what we're gonna do is, we pretty much have everything prepped. What we have to do now is we gotta start cleaning everything, and we're gonna go in the house, and we're gonna actually wash these down with Dawn dish soap and hot water. And what this is gonna do, this is gonna break down pretty much all the oils, any type of silicones, or any type of Armor All products, stuff like that, that's going to prevent the paint from sticking. So everything's washed. All right, so now we're essentially working in a clean room environment, and what we're doing is we've gloved up, because what we're doing now is we're going into the final prep before we actually start painting anything. And the last thing you want to do is transfer any oils from your hands or any dirt back to the pieces. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use take a paper towel. We're going to dry any excess water off the parts, going into the little bolt hole locations and getting all the water out of there and making sure they're nice and dry. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna repeat that for all the pieces. So now that we have everything wiped down, essentially this is the last step as prep before you paint. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna spray it down with isopropyl alcohol. And what this is designed to do, it's really designed to strip any remaining oils, fingerprints, whatever that may be on the parts, right? We always use isopropyl alcohol. I always have the best results with it. You can use denatured or rubbing alcohol, but if you can get isopropyl, that's what I would recommend. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna basically treat all the pieces. Again, using gloves. Make sure you use new paper towels. Don't use anything you may have used as far as before drying the parts or wiping them down. Because if you do, all you can do is just kind of transfer stuff back to the parts. Because when you go down to painting, really, it all goes down to the prep work and making sure that there's no contaminants on the surface of the parts. Because if you have any silicones or oils, that's what's going to cause, you know, your fish eyes and stuff like that. So take your time, and there you go. You know, even though we wash those parts, that's what's coming off of them. So we're probably going to do this 2 or 3 times until the towels are clean and we know that we're good to go. All right, so everything's been prepped, everything's been clean. At this point, we're good to go. We have everything lined with these lint-free paper towels, so we're not gonna get any blowback. So we're using Rust-Oleum adhesion promoter, right? So this is essentially, it's glue. It's gonna make the paint bond to the plastic. You really only need to use this type of product when you're painting on plastic. So how this product works is you're gonna spray 2 light coats on it, and then it's actually ready to go 10 minutes after the second coat. But you have to apply your top coat, your color coat, before it dries. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a first coat. We're gonna let it flash off for about 2 or 3 minutes. We're gonna do a second coat, and then we're gonna wait about another 4 or 5 minutes, and then we're gonna do our color coat.
All right, so the adhesion promoter is on there. We let it flash off for 5 minutes. We have our color coat ready to go. We've been shaking it up for the last 2 or 3 minutes. First coat is going to be very light. It's just going to be a tack coat. And so let's go ahead and put the color on. All right, so at this point we have 2 coats of color on it. It came out pretty good, no issues. It worked out pretty well. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna let this flash off for about 5 minutes, and then we're gonna put the final color coat, and then we'll have 3 coats of color on it, and then we'll move on to the clear. All right, so we're all set with the color. We let this flash off for 30 minutes, and again, we're using the 1K clear. And you gotta be careful with the clear because it is a little bit thinner than regular paint, so if you go on too heavy, it may have a tendency to run. So you just want to go with a couple light coats. So we're going to do 1 coat, we're going to let it flash off for 30 minutes, and then we're going to come back with another coat. All right, so here you go. Here's the finished product. Pretty easy to do. Total cost of the project was probably about 25 bucks, and that includes the paint and the clear coat. So if I didn't explain it before, we went with a 1K clear. The 1K clear is more of a matte or a satin finish versus a 2K, which is more of a high gloss. The reason why I went with a 1K because if you look at the overall finish of the dash and the materials in the Jeep, everything is kind of the same thing. It's kind of like a satin or a matte finish. So we went with the 1K to really match the overall finish of everything else in the Jeep. Because if you went with a 2K, it'd be really shiny, and if somebody was ever getting into it, and say, oh, you know, so let me painted that. But going with the 1K, it really looks factory, and it really blends in with everything else. So there you go. If there's any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and leave them in the comments box. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And as always, thanks for watching, and have a great day. See ya.